Hello, my name is Tim Jeffcoat and I'm a sales engineer at Datto. Today we're going to be talking about Datto's networking portfolio, which is comprised of four main families. We've got edge routers, switches, access points and managed power devices. Today we're going to be talking about the switches, access points and managed power. All of Datto's networking portfolio is designed to make life easier for managed service providers in three main areas: setting up the network and building out a network of access points and switches for customers, managing it on a day-to-day basis, and then troubleshooting issues as and when they occur. And Datto Networking is really designed to be delivered as a managed service to help service providers transition their customers from a more traditional approach of buying network equipment up front and using it for 3 to 5 years to transitioning to a monthly service that is easier for the customer and the service provider. As a result, all of our products are designed to be delivered as a monthly service and are all remotely monitored and managed from Datto's cloud via the Datto Partner Portal. Today, I'm going to show you how we can actually set up a network from scratch in just a few minutes. We're going to build a brand new customer network with a switch, an access point, and a managed power device, and do some basic configuration to get it up and running. And we begin in Datto's Partner Portal. Datto's Partner Portal has got a wide range of features. There's training tools, pricing sheets, competitive intelligence, and a range of technical tools for managing Datto products. And under the status page from the top navigation menu, we have this networking status option that allows a service provider to view and monitor all of the networks that they've got implemented using Datto technology. You can see a nice multi-tenanted view which breaks down on a customer by customer basis all of the networks and the health status of that network. This networking status page is designed for service desk technicians to be able to get an overview of the health status of a customer's network. And it's driven by a powerful API that Datto has designed that can be used to integrate all the information on this networking status page with other management tools and to get a high level of automation and proactive alerts in the event of an access point going offline or key events like that that a service provider is going to want to be able to know about. And what we're going to do is create a brand new network instance that we're going to link this hardware here to set up a brand new network. So what I've got with me today is a switch. This is the Datto Networking E8 switch. I've got an access point, which is an AP42 model, and I've also got a managed power device, an MP10. And so we're going to build a network using these devices, and the first thing we need to do is to create a brand new network instance, so a new customer that we're going to view in this networking status page. So to do that, I'm going to open up the cloud management tool that Datto has designed for managing all of these devices. The cloud management tool is designed to make it quicker and easier for a service provider to view what's going on with their customer networks, perform standard maintenance tasks, and to get an insight as to what is going on in their customer's environment. Up here I have a list of my customers' networks, and these are what we were looking at earlier in the network status page, but from here I can start to go and actually drill down into the hardware that's associated with each network. And what we're going to do here is to create a new network instance. We're going to call this Acme Limited, and this is going to my network group of customer production network, and this is located in London in the United Kingdom. Now at this point I actually have the option to clone the settings from any of the existing networks I've got set up. And this is really designed to make it easier for a service provider to kind of define their best practice for their customers' networks. And they might have a few templates, something along the lines of a small business, a medium business, maybe a retailer, maybe a manufacturer, different flavors of different networking requirements that they have standardized on as a service provider. Now, I'm not going to clone settings from an existing network in this instance because we're going to be creating a new one from just for the purposes of this equipment here. But I've just hit the Create button, and this is going to allow us to go and start setting up this equipment. So this network instance has now been created, and what we need to do now is to actually link this hardware, so this switch, this access point, and this managed power device with this network instance that we've just added. Because at the moment we've got a network instance, but there's no actual hardware linked to it. And I'm actually going to link these devices using our purpose-built smartphone app. And this networking app is designed to make life easier for technicians and engineers who are building customer networks. I can view all of the networks that I'm managing, and this allows me to go and maybe do a hardware swap out if I've got a bit of hardware that's failed, and quickly and easily replace that. But what we're going to do this time is actually add this switch, this access point, and this managed power device to this Acme network that we've created. So as we can see, under Acme Limited, I don't have any hardware, so there's no access points, no switches, no managed power devices. So I'm going to hit the plus button to add this switch to this network instance. So I've hit the add device, and this has immediately brought up the camera on my smart device, on my smartphone. Every Datto networking product has a QR code, and that QR code contains data that can be used to link that bit of hardware to a particular network instance. And so you can see that the app has automatically detected the model, and then it allows me to choose my actual network, and there it is, Acme Limited, that network instance we've just created. We're going to give this device a name, 8 port. So we've got a name for the device. I've just hit save, and that's now adding and linking this switch to my the network we've just created. So we can see now under Acme Limited we've got a switch. Let's do the same thing for the other bits of hardware that we've got right here. So we're linking the managed power device. There's its QR code, and the app has just picked that up. So let's link the managed power device. And we'll call it MP10, which is the model number for this particular bit of hardware. So, adding devices via the app is very straightforward. It's also possible to add devices directly from the management interface we were looking at a little bit earlier. Let's actually add this access point this way. So I've just hit the Add New button on the management interface, and that's now going to go and ask for the MAC address of this bit of hardware. Now I could scan it via the app as we've just been looking, but in this instance I'm going to import it via its MAC address, and you can bulk import. So if you've got 10 or 20 or 30 access points you want to import into Datto Networking, you can upload a CSV file with all the bits of all the serial numbers and MAC addresses and get them imported all at once. But I'm going to go ahead and add in the MAC address of this particular access point. I'm going to give the access point a name. And this access point has now been added to my network. Now this switch is already cabled in to an uplink, and the access point is already plugged into the switch, so obviously these devices are already powered on. But the moment you add a Datto networking device to a network instance, the moment it comes online, it will then start checking in with Datto's cloud. Our networking devices check in a minimum of once every 5 minutes, and this allows the device to phone home, pull down things like configuration files, and to report back to our management interfaces of the health status of the hardware. And this check-in process is essential for these devices to kind of phone home and let the service provider looking after that bit of hardware know that it's okay. So coming through to the access points management page in the cloud portal, we can see that this access point is now checking in with Datto's cloud, which means it has an uplink from the switch that it's connected to. And this access point will automatically pull down configuration from Datto's cloud with things like the SSIDs, the security settings, and all the networks that it needs to broadcast. Similarly, the switch, once that kind of comes online, it'll automatically check in with Datto's cloud. We can see this switch last checked in 3 minutes ago, right after we added it to the network, and it will pull down port configurations, VLAN configurations, anything that we've configured is stored in Datto's cloud and then dynamically pushed down to the hardware. So let's actually take a look at some of the options that can be configured for Datto switches. Datto switches are layer 2 switches. They're designed to provide kind of access layer switching at the edge of a network to really cater for small and medium businesses. And as you can see, the interface of these switches gives you a nice overview of what the port status and what's connected for each port. The switch will automatically identify the uplink port and identify that with this blue icon, and any other downstream ports that are connected are colored green, and there's various other status messages that give a technician valuable information as to what's going on with that switch. If I go through to the port settings page, this will then allow me to start configuring this switch on a port-by-port basis. I can enable or disable ports, I can enable VLAN tags if I've got VLANs that I need to propagate through the network, and I can also start to do things like link aggregation and bonding ports together, setting up power over Ethernet priorities. There's a whole range of layer 2 features that can be configured on a port-by-port basis. Let's look at a quick example of how we might configure a link aggregation, so a lag. I'm going to select 2 ports, so I've selected ports 1 and 2. I can select then the aggregate option, and that's going to bind these 2 ports together and show me that in the actual interface. So on the interface here, you can see that ports 1 and 2 now have this green highlight, and that indicates that these 2 ports are now bound together, and obviously I can then start propagating that through the rest of my network. Datto switches are designed to be cloud managed. There's no local interface, command line or graphical. It's all managed from Datto's cloud. And so the moment a configuration change is made in the cloud, that is then pushed down to the switch. And this allows a technician to remotely monitor and manage switches to make sure that they can perform whatever maintenance tasks are necessary without necessarily having to visit the customer, which potentially costs time and causes delays. There are a range of other settings that can be set globally for the switch, so setting up dedicated VLANs for VoIP traffic, and a range of other layer 2 features that can be configured on a customer-by-customer basis. We also make it possible to store switch templates in Datto's cloud. And so you can essentially decide on best practice for a particular customer or a particular customer type and store those switch templates now in Datto's cloud, so those can be quickly and easily deployed down to a specific customer. Part of the management interface will display the power over Ethernet utilization for the switch. Every Datto switch is fully PoE enabled, and the downstream ports are all able to deliver up to 30 watts of power over Ethernet to connected devices. This is perfect for access points, CCTV cameras, phones, and other devices that can be driven via PoE. And that's one of the benefits of Datto switch portfolio is simplicity. We have 2 series with 5 different models and different port count numbers and so on, but they all have the same layer 2 features and that same ability to drive PoE from all of the downstream ports. And that just makes life a bit easier when it comes to choosing the right switch for your customers, because the features are much more similar across the different model ranges. So all you're really choosing between is the port count. And so I can see in the management interface how much power is being drawn from the switch and how much overhead I've got left in the PoE budget. And likewise, I get the same thing for traffic utilization. I can view the traffic on a port-by-port basis and view the flow of traffic through the switch. Let's talk about the management options for Datto access points. So Datto access points are designed to simply work out of the box. They'll automatically scan for channels and make sure that they're not picking channels that can interfere with other wireless networks. They'll automatically choose transmit powers based on the country they're deployed in and the local legislation, and also the other networks and access points that they can see. Every Datto network instance can power up to 4 different SSIDs. So the number of different wireless networks is driven by the network instance rather than the access point. And each SSID can have its own custom setting. So I can see I've opened up SSID 1 from the management page, and this by default is the guest network. So there's no security enabled. The security is set so that any guest user can connect, and there's a range of options that can be configured here. I can set up a walled garden and just specific sites and addresses that I want my guests to be able to access. There's a built-in splash page editor that's available out of the box that allows you to build a welcome page for your visitors, and the splash page allows you to accept access codes or to accept payment via a number of different common payment methods depending on the nature of the business. This is really useful for retail customers or hotels and hospitality, where you're providing a network service to these types of businesses who want visitors to be able to get online, but to be able to do that in a secure and manageable manner. And this is all available out of the box. There's no additional licenses required. It's all available with every network instance that can be created with Datto Networking. When it comes to secure networks, by default SSID is set up as a secure network, but this again is entirely configurable. Out of the box, we have WPA2 enabled, but there's a range of different security options that can be integrated with every network instance, maybe talking to a Radius server or Active Directory to allow you to authenticate users that way, or just setting up a pre-shared key that users can enter when they're joining the network. Every network instance can be scheduled, so you can define when that actual wireless network is available. This is really useful for tuning a wireless network with when the business is actually operating. You may not necessarily want a guest network to be available outside of standard business hours. And so you can actually schedule when the wireless network is going to be available. You can also set up bandwidth limits for each connected client. So when a device connects to that wireless network, how much bandwidth is it actually being able to consume when it's online. And again, this is really useful in a wide variety of different scenarios. And there are a range of other features that can be enabled with each network instance that allows a service provider to get full visibility of what's going on. Part of these features includes the ability to view the traffic for each connected device. Now, we've just built a brand new network here, so we don't have any connected devices on this particular network. But if I jump through to one of my other networks that I'm managing, I'll be able to see all of the connected devices and the traffic that they are generating. So here's an example of a network that has a number of different devices on it, and I can start to view the signal strength, the amount of data that's being consumed, the last time a particular client connected to each wireless network instance. This type of information is essential for a service provider in monitoring the health status of a network and troubleshooting things. You know, if a customer rings up and says, hey, the wireless is slow today, a service provider can use these tools to diagnose what is going wrong and then make the necessary changes to fix the problem. And that's really one of the major benefits of Datto Networking. We've designed all of our products, both the hardware and the management interfaces, with service providers in mind. And having this all captured in a single, easy-to-use tool really increases the profitability of a service provider because their technicians can spend less time managing networks and more time looking after other customers because it's more straightforward to do common tasks with Datto Networking. The managed power device that we've linked is obviously a little bit different to access points and switches. These devices are designed to make it easier for a service provider to cater for and manage non-network devices. It could be printers, digital signage, TVs, routers and other devices that might need to be rebooted or power cycled. And normally a service provider would have to send a technician out to actually do this, to unplug something or perform a power cycle. But these managed power devices give a service provider the ability to remotely reboot devices using these intelligent plugs. This network has got 4 added, and it allows me to go and view the power utilization, so I can see how much power is being drawn in real time by that particular device. And I can set up something like a ping test where if a key device on the network goes offline, it reboots the plug. A key use case for this might be something like a network printer. If the printer has a problem and it goes offline, the managed power plug can detect that printer is no longer responding to a ping test, and then the plug can reboot that printer, which in a lot of cases might resolve the issue. This is really designed to reduce the number of trips out to a customer for a service provider. Again, aiming to increase profitability and ultimately increase customer satisfaction. If a service provider has to send a technician out to a customer site, that might take several hours, it might take several days for that actually to be scheduled. And that might cause downtime, or it might interfere with the running of that customer's network or key devices on that network. So Datto's managed power portfolio is really designed to increase the level of service that a service provider can deliver to their customers. And just like our switches and our access points, this is all managed from the cloud management portal that we've designed and can all be monitored from this network status page on the Datto Networking portfolio. So what have we looked at today? We've seen how easy it is to build a network from scratch, to add a switch and an access point and a managed power device, to start configuring them and getting them up and running. We've also looked at some of the key tools that service providers can use with Datto networking to get better visibility as to what their customers are doing with their networks and to ultimately provide a better service to their customers when it comes to networking, which obviously is an essential part of modern businesses. If you have further questions about any of Datto's networking portfolio, don't hesitate to get in touch with your account manager to see a deeper dive demo.